Hi everyone and welcome to a Christmas edition of Paratalk. And who better to join me for a festive podcast than the one and only Mr. Shrouded Hand. Hello, Tom.
Hello, hello.
So it's Christmas and we're going to have a bit of a Christmas chat because,
Okay.
Christmas time. Are you particularly feeling very festive at the moment or not?
Yeah, I suppose so. I like Christmas. I like the strangeness of Christmas and putting a tree inside the house and weird stuff like that. I like Christmas. Yeah.
Yeah, Christmas time is a fun time, and it's nice for me. I enjoy not doing anything at Christmas, which is a complete opposite to what I used to do when I was younger. But do you still go out and sort of like see the family and catch up with everyone, that you haven't seen in a year?
Well, usually the family comes to me because, I live like up in the northeast of England, quite far away. My family live down, like my parents live down in Wales, and usually they come up to us, and we sort of all like get together with my wife's family and my family and have a big meal together. So. Yeah, I'm usually at home, but I'm hosting family members.
So, do you ever, Christmas time is a time for getting together with everyone and, sharing your festivities. But do you ever find that, do you fall in the trap of having that kind of Christmas fallout where people tend to sort of get a little bit too much of each other?
No, not really. I don't know. We seem to get on quite well. We don't really have family fallouts. I've heard it's like a Christmas tradition for some people, but no, things usually go quite smoothly.
Well, that's good.
I'm also kind of aware that my mum sometimes listens to these podcasts. She's told me on the phone, say, "Oh, I was listening to Paratalk. You said this." But no, we don't like fall out or anything at Christmas.
Well, that's good. That's good. Hello, Tom's mum, if you're listening. Shout out to Tom's mum. So yeah, I was going to, as we were talking about, I think that it would be quite nice because everyone is chilling at the moment. You're all Christmas time. You're all most probably having a pork pie or a mince pie, maybe a beer, getting ready to watch Roger Moore, The Spy Who Loved Me on the telly. So let's just go back in time a minute. Let's talk about Christmas when we was younger, when we were kids. What was it? What was it for you then? What was the build up for like when you were younger?
The build up. I don't know. I seem to remember the constant dropping hints of things that I would like for Christmas in the build up, and then wondering if you were going to get them. But
yeah.
I don't know. I remember the massive, like we always used to have a tree in the front room that seemed massive. And I don't know whether, like looking back, I don't know whether it really was as massive as I remember or whether it was just like a normal sized tree. But like, I'm thinking compared to the tree that I've got in my front room, it's probably about the same height, but it seems like half the size. So I don't know whether it was just because I was so much smaller. My memory of the tree being in the living room and just being like this giant, massive thing. We'd like spend ages putting all the decorations on. And I used to like imagine little stories like with the decorations, like there'd be one that was shaped like a deer and another one that was shaped like Santa. And I'd sort of move them around on the tree, imagining little scenarios.
Well, I do remember it was kind of a family thing putting the Christmas tree up. And my parents would, they would like, no, we're not putting the tree up just yet. It's going to be like another week. We're going to do it next weekend, and then the tree will get put up, and it's going to be a family thing. And we put the tree up, and everybody would be happy, and we'd get all the trimmings out, and then the cat would, don't let the cat in, because the cat will want to climb the tree.
Yeah.
So, we did all that. But for me, personally, the highlight of Christmas, build up to Christmas, was the school disco when I was a little bit older. The school disco, the Christmas disco, where you would go and you would all dance to like madness with your, with your best clothes on or whatever. And you know, that was the thing. But a little bit before that was the end of year school like play, the school production.
Yeah.
And I never did any of that in my teenage years because I was too hip and cool for that. But I did when I was at junior school, which was, I don't know, preteen, 12, 11, 12 years old. And I remember, I've got a little bit of story to tell you and to tell the listeners. And this has stuck with me forever, really, ever since I think I was 11 when we had this Christmas festive thing went on. We'd broke up for school. We were all in the play. The teachers wanted everyone to have a part in the play. And this play was, it wasn't like the Jesus story, three kings and the baby Jesus and all. It wasn't that. It was more of from what I remember, it was like a Christmas, and this is going to sound quite morbid, but it was like Christmas in the workhouse. So I don't even know if that's a thing. I don't know if they had Christmas in the workhouse. I suppose they did. But it was based around that. And I can't remember the full story, but it was more of a Victorian... somebody had written this play. It wasn't like a Charles Dickens or something. So one of our teachers had like penned this play, and he'd based it on the festive tale of Jesus, baby Jesus and all that stuff. But he'd done it in a Victorian workhouse. So I don't know. It was a bit sort of, off the wall. But anyway, I had a part in this play. And we all had costumes and stuff. This was all proper. This was a proper production, and there was like a choir and stuff like that. They sang some songs afterwards. But anyway, so this play, I remember the scene that I was in, and it was about halfway through, right? And in my old school, we had two halls. We had the front, like a left hall and a right hall, and there was two connecting doors either side, well, archways really. The school was an old, the reason they had two halls, assembly rooms, whatever you want to call them, was because the school was an exact mirror of itself, because it was an old Victorian boys and girls school. So the girls would be one side, the boys would be the other. The school was identical either side. Mm-hmm. But in modern times, it was all sort of used as one thing. Now, so all the people that weren't in the play at that time were in the other hall, assembly room, whatever you want to call it. And we were getting ready. So I'd got changed, and I was wearing like a pair of boots and some black trousers, which didn't really fit me, and a long overcoat. And apparently I was like I want to say a guard, but more of I was like a worker bloke who'd tell people to get to work and stuff like that. And I was stood by this bloke. Well, it wasn't a bloke, it was a kid. But he was dressed like a bloke. So he was like a 11-year-old kid with like a fake beard and moustache. It was a bit weird to see, but, it was pretty convincing. Yeah. And he was like the workhouse boss man. And he was telling off this person who apparently was like, I don't know whether this guy that was this young kid that was playing the main person, I don't know if he was being like a baby Jesus in the workhouse. I can't remember because the story was so off the wall. But he was getting told off, and the guy was saying, "You done it again. Well, I'm not having it. You're not making enough silk or whatever it was." And anyway, we had this long hallway in the middle of two lots of chairs where all the parents were. And what this kid had to do was he says, "Oh, I've had enough. I'm not working here no more," and runs away. Okay, and that was the start of his story as a main character. I suppose his Jesus saga. So he runs away. Okay, and he runs out these double doors, and that's him done until the next scene. Me. Okay, so I've been practicing this. That was going to be great, and I thought, I'm going to make the most of this. And my exact words were, "Hey, you, come back here." And then I had to run after him, right? And I nearly tripped over halfway because the shoes and the trousers, they didn't fit me. And that was it. I ran out the back, and then I had to stay out in this little room for the rest of the play because there was no way out. So you were in this little room. Of course, the kid was able to come back in later because he came back and there was like, it was part of the play. But me, I had to stay out there. And then at the end of the play, so I was out there for like 40 minutes in this room on my own, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And all the play, I could hear the play going on. And I was like looking out these like frosted glass windows at the top of the door. I couldn't really see anything. And then after that, this kind of choir came out and they all like played the guitar, strummed the guitars, and we all came in and sang a song. And that was, for me, I thought I was famous. But I was just a bit character. And it was in the paper and everything. It was great. But that was my memory of junior school. But when we got to sort of comprehensive, Christmas discos was where it was at. Was that the same for you?
Yeah, pretty much. I don't like. I'm sure I was in a few like weird plays and things at primary school, but I hardly remember any of them because they would find like little weird roles for everyone, wouldn't they?
Yeah,
there'd be someone playing
in
like.
it, yeah.
But some kids would just be in it like with one line, or just be standing there like doing something off in the background. The only thing I can remember being in was I don't know if this was a Christmas thing or not, but it was like I don't know what it was called. It was like a matador dance. We were all dressed like bullfighters, and we were like
Christmas.
No, I don't know if it was Christmas. It was some. This is the only sort of thing I can remember doing. I'm sure I must have done other things on stage at my primary school, but it was like some dance where you had to like turn around and then stamp your foot. And all I remember is the teacher kept going, "You have to stamp your foot as hard as you can," because some of the kids were just not doing it properly. And I'm sure at some point I saw a recording of when we actually did the performance, and I'm stamping my foot so hard, it's like ridiculous. Like I'm like lifting my foot up into the air as high as it'll go and slamming it down on the floor. It just, I'm taking it way too seriously. Yeah. But that's the only way. Like I'm sure I must have starred in other things as like little bit roles in things, but I don't really have a memory of like what the plays were or anything like that. But yeah, once we got to high school, it was just discos.
Yeah,
kids were too cool for putting pantos on and stuff.
Well, I do remember from my early childhood, my parents would. Most probably people who listen now are going to chuckle because I'm not the only one that did this. My parents would say, "Now, tonight, it's Christmas Eve. What I want you to do is get the bit of paper and write down all the things that you want for Christmas, and what we're going to do, we're going to send it to Father Christmas, and he's going to look through it and see how good you've been, and you might get some of those things, right? You might get some of those things." And I'm like thinking, I'm looking there. I want a Star Wars play set. I want Battlestar Galactica annual. I want, this, I want that, I want, all those things. I want the Atari and this and whatever. I'm thinking, well, I've got all these amazing things. I'm bound to get one. If I just get one thing, I'm winning, Yeah. And my mum said, right, you got to put them in the envelopes and give them to your dad. And we're all in the room together, right? And I just mine, and puts it in an envelope, gives it to my dad, put to Father Christmas. And my brother does this. My dad, he's smiling, right? We had this big coal fire in the front room back in them days. We had a big coal fire, and he chucks them on the fire. And I'm like looking at him thinking, what are you doing? I just spent 10 minutes writing that out. What are you burning it for? Of course, I didn't understand. He said, no. What will happen, right? This is how gullible I was. What will happen is the all your message will burn, and then the ash will go up the chimney into smoke, and it will go all the way to, where the elves and Father Christmas are, and then they'll see it in the snow, what you want.
So who threw him on the fire, your brother or you?
No, my dad. My dad threw him on the fire.
Okay.
But I didn't know what was going on. I thought that was you're not getting nothing. You burnt it. Your request has been nullified. You are...
Did he read them first, though? So he knew what you wanted?
My mum looked at them.
Oh, right.
My mum did it with us. She said, well, write down, and she was with us, and we wrote down the things, and I'm like, I want an Action Man, I want Star Wars, I want Battlestar Galactica, I want, this, I want that, I want Atari, I want, and I thought if I write all these great things down, these amazing things that I've seen on the adverts, because, kids' TV back then at Christmas time, all the adverts was, kids' toys, wasn't it? And everywhere you went was kids' toys. And so I had a list, like 10 things or whatever that I wanted. And I just thought that they were going to like put a stamp on it and send it to Father Christmas, because I honestly believed that there was a Father Christmas. He was a geezer, and that was his job. That was his only job. Every year, he put his costume on and delivered all these presents. And I thought, he's going to get it. I was only like, 10, 11. I wasn't very old. But the thing was that I couldn't believe it when my dad, he was smiling because he knew what he was going to do. And he threw him on the fire. And I'm like, what did I do? What did I do wrong? I've obviously been quite evil, But no, then he explained that the smoke, and it will go to the North Pole or whatever, and then these elves will decode it, and you'll know what you want. This is amazing. That's how it works. I've just completely I've just gone hook, line and sinker. And you know what? I didn't get anything. I didn't get any of that what I wanted. I got none of it. No. I got none of what I wanted. I got everything.
You must not have been good enough, that's why.
I got some socks. It's weird, isn't it? Christmas time is weird. It's like when you're a kid, right? You all, I remember one Christmas, I really got some really amazing things. So I got a bike, I got some video games, and it was like, that was we had a couple of really amazing Christmases, but my parents were, they didn't, how can I put it? We always got something nice, right? We got a nice present, but we never got everything we wanted. We got maybe one or two things that we wanted, or one thing that we wanted. And that was it, and you'd obviously go and see your nan, and she would give you aftershave and socks, even when you're like 12. Why are you giving me aftershave? I don't even shave yet. Well, aftershave and socks, that's all you get. Or you get a £5 note. Don't spend it all at once. Don't go straight down the shop and buy £5 worth of sweets, which is like what I did.
Did you do the thing where, it was either my grandmother or my parents used to just chuck a Argos catalogue at me and my brother, and say,
literally throw it at you? At your head?
No, just like hand it over and say, right, go through this, go through and circle anything you want for Christmas. So we'd be going through, putting a ring around pretty much the whole, back, the back half of the book was
grifters, choppers, everything, the lot, most expensive stuff. So we'd be like,
right, I want this. And then they'd look through, and it'd be like every single thing was circled on each page. All right, no, you can have one thing.
Yeah, you've got to be realistic.
Yeah,
never did. Well, actually, I do remember doing that once, but it wasn't with an Argos. It was with a catalogue for, I think it was Youngsters, or it was one of the big toy chains back in the day, because we had there were a few around, and they're all kind of gone now. But back in those days, we had Jennings, Youngsters, and they were like the toy shops that we at every sort of town and city had. And I remember my mum took us in there, and we got these brochures, and I would drew little smiley stick people next to things, and I remember telling my mum, I've made little things, things I'd like. Obviously I didn't, I can't say I didn't get any of them, because I think some years I did, but the thing was, as we sort of, as a kid, you got no idea what things cost. You just see things and want them. And I had a mate who, I must admit, his parents were quite well off, but he literally got everything. I remember going around his house. You ever do that as well? Go around your mate's house on Christmas Day and kind of compare presents? Did you ever do that?
Not on Christmas Day, no. It was always just with family, no. Maybe afterwards we'd go out and go.
See, for me, the Christmas Day, right, was started at 5 o'clock in the morning. That's when Christmas Day started, and you would loiter on the landing, because waiting to go downstairs, because for some reason you'd wait for your mum or whatever to get up, and then we would all open our presents, together at sort of 8 o'clock in the morning, and then and by that time, sort of 10 a.m, you'd watch the cartoons on the telly. And by midday, you have your tomato soup or whatever, or your chips or whatever, and then you're done. Yeah, that's Christmas is over. That's we've opened our presents. So let's go down my mate. And I went to my mate's house. I always used to go to my mate's house, and he always had one year, right? Let me just tell you, right? I remember I went round his house, and he'd had a record player, He had the Buggles album, and he was playing Video Killed the Radio Star non-stop.
Yeah.
He had a train set. He had a whole ton of like annuals. I mean, you name it, any TV show from like the Famous Five to, I don't know, Children of the Stones or whatever. Just annuals, Sapphire and Steel, all this stuff. He had loads of these books, like the yearly annuals, like Buck Rogers and all that stuff. He had all those. He had so many things. And I used to think to he had a pinball, like a table pinball one year. And I'm thinking to myself, where does he keep all this stuff? Because his bedroom's tiny. And he literally had like a room downstairs, and it just had all of his toys in it. And it was, for me, who, as a kid growing up, I had toys, but I didn't have loads of toys, and having a mate who had literally a toy shop in a room was for me amazing. So, I had a mate who, I don't know, his parents were quite well off, and they did spoil him. He had a sister as well, and she had loads of presents and stuff. But it was a bit weird going around his house and finding literally just stuff. I would see stuff, and I would think, oh my God, I saw that in the toy shop. And he's got it, he's actually got it. But for me, for Christmas, we would get one or two things. And weird thing was, right, I don't know if you ever did this. Did you ever do like that kind of, after Christmas with your mates, you do like they'd ask what you got, right? And you tell them, oh, I got this, I got that. Did you do that sort of temporary loan where you'd swap presents with your mate? Do you ever do that?
I don't know really. I don't think so.
No?
No, I don't think I would have trusted my friends with my toys.
That's weird. I mean, I had a couple of mates I used to do that with. And every Christmas, after Christmas, you'd go, what'd you get? And you go, oh yeah, I got I got this game, or I got this book, or I got this whatever, And they go, oh, do you want to swap? And they go, what'd you get? And they go, oh, I got this. And you go, I got this, handheld Space Invaders. I go, yeah, all right, yeah. And then we do like a swap. And you'd come home and your mum would go, where'd you get that from? And you go, oh, yeah, Georgie lent me it for a little bit. And you wouldn't tell them.
Yeah, you must have trusted your friends more than me.
Well, yeah, that's where it goes wrong a bit, because you would, So we had this like little group of people we'd swap our toys with our Christmas presents. And it wasn't because we didn't want our Christmas presents. It was a way of us thinking we'd get more Christmas presents, because you got access to a pool of Christmas presents that you never got, that you could still use for a little while. But we had a few people. The group I say a group, it was only about 5 or 6 of us. It expanded a little bit, okay? And the problem was, some of the people in the group, the kids, they swapped it with other people. So, and those people they swapped it with weren't part of the group. So the people they swapped it with, I don't know about you, were with swapsies. There's no going back. You swap it with someone, you ain't getting it back. Do you ever do that? Do swapsies?
I don't know. Maybe sometimes with games, like Amiga games, we'd sometimes swap. Like if we'd finished playing one, we'd go, we'll swap for that and play another person's game. But
did you ever swap something and regret it and think, oh, can I have it back? And then the other person's like, no, it don't work like that.
Not really. No, we didn't do that. It must have just been a you thing,
Yeah, it must have been. It must have been.
Maybe in North Wales, people just didn't want to swap anything. It's like, no, people were more like, no, that's mine.
Well, it wasn't because it wasn't because we didn't want our presents. It was because we thought, we've got 2 or 3 presents, and I know my mate, whatever, would like to, have access to this or read this annual or whatever. I wonder what he's got that I can borrow for a week, that I can get enjoyment from. It was more like that. But obviously, it only takes one bad apple to start, and it all falls to bits. So that's what happened. It all kind of ended. Because nobody wanted to swap anything anymore. Loan or whatever you want to call it. We used to call it swapsies, but yeah.
Yeah, actually, I can remember lending someone my Game Boy for like a few days.
Did you get that back?
Anything. Yeah, I seem to remember getting it back, but then the charging cable was broken.
There you go.
And but those things used to break all the time. Those cables, so it probably wasn't this kid's fault, but. That's the only thing. That's the only thing I can remember lending out. I
had a Microvision, and it was one of the first handheld LCD little I think it's 2x2 or it was a 2x2 or a 3x3 inch screen, and it was LCD. And I had there's some listeners out there going, "Oh, I remember Microvision." Well, I was very fortunate to have one back in must have been the late 70s, and I had all the games with it as well. One of the first, it was, if not the first, one of the first handheld. It used to eat batteries. You literally put a set of batteries in it, and you play it for like an hour or two, and then the batteries would be flat. But I had a lot of friends that wanted to borrow that, do swapsies with that, and I'm like, no, sorry, can't do that. I just didn't want to. I just sort of cherished. I still got it now, actually. I still got it now, but in a box, in a cupboard, in the dark somewhere. But I think I've taken the batteries out of it. Well, be a bit late now, wouldn't it? But,
yeah, they'll be eating through the back of it.
Oh yeah, definitely. them early 70s batteries. So Christmas time, it's not only about opening presents, okay? It's also about what's on the telly. You know what I mean? What was your favourite TV show? It could be anything. I mean, there were a few, but for me, I always like to see sort of like James Bond. I always look forward to seeing a James Bond film.
Yeah, I've never been into James Bond, but I remember they would always have some like blockbuster movie.
Yeah,
and like back then, you'd have to wait like a few years before something came on the TV, didn't you? Like nowadays, they're like on like as soon as a movie comes out in the cinema, like they're straight on streaming services like almost immediately. But like back then, it was like a big thing when a big film had come out in the cinema. And then it came on the TV. It was like for the first time, it's premiering on the TV, and it'd be like quite a exciting event. So I remember always at Christmas there'd be something on that was, hadn't been on before, and the family would gather around and watch this movie. I can't remember. I'm trying to think like what movies I remember watching.
I remember I remember the first time. I know I'm going on a tangent here, but I remember the first time that Star Wars was on the telly. And this was a long time ago. But it took about 4 or 5 years for it to be on the telly. But the thing is, it's kind of like for me as a kid, I always enjoyed like James Bond, that kind of thing. But the one film that I remember as a kid growing up was A Christmas Carol. That was the. Have you got a favourite version of A Christmas Carol? Is there? I mean, even the Muppets did one, didn't they? But,
the Muppets, they did I went to see that at the cinema. I think. No, I don't know. I do like. I know it's not exactly the same as Christmas Carol, but I like Scrooged.
Yeah. Well, it's the same sort of thing, isn't it?
Is it? It's been ages since I watched it.
Well,
I can't remember if it's exactly the same as the Christmas Carol, if it's different. But
there's loads of different versions, and I remember Patrick Stewart was in one, and that was the one that sticks in my head as a kid. Growing up, I remember that one, but I also remember the early one, the original as well. And I also remember there was a cartoon one, and that's the one I always sort of watched at Christmas. There was a cartoon version, an animated version, all hand drawn and stuff, and that was one of the main ones that I watched. And I remember as well. Now, I have to tell this because it's Christmas related, and I can't remember. It must have been in my teenage years, or around that time, that we had a school outing. It was around Christmas time, I believe. Our theatre down here shows, although they do like plays and stuff and all that kind of stuff. They also show films throughout the year, but it's more like art house stuff, independent things and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was something like that.
And I mean, I was a teenager and I didn't know a lot back then. I just knew about getting up to mischief with me mate. So we had to do with our school. We had to do a like some sort of social studies sort of thing. And I thought, well, I'm going to do it about like film and stuff because, we're going to watch lots of films. Yeah, we did watch lots of films. But the thing is, right, one year it was a treat and this teacher said, the tutor said, we're going to take you to the pictures, well, the playhouse, and you're going to see a film. And you're going to, in the new year, you're going to write an essay about it. But we're taking you, we're going as a group, and we're going to see a film. And we're like, yeah, okay, it's a new film. And so what is it? What are we going to see? It's called The Elephant Man.
Oh, yeah.
Right, now, you got to think how a young person's mind works. Immediately, right, you got to remember, now there are listeners out there in our age group that's going to understand that information back then was quite thin on the ground. Unless you were reading magazines or getting like movie papers or whatever, you didn't really know. I mean, I'm not watching Barry Norman every week. I'm a teenager, you know. I don't do that. But you got to remember that it's not like now where you could just go on your phone and go tick tick, and there you go. It's all there. You read about it, find out about it. As you well know, back then, it's all word of mouth, isn't it? It's all word of mouth. Mm-hmm. Someone tells you, it's like Chinese whispers, you know. So I go to my mate. What's this film we're going to see? What's it about? You know, is it a good film or what? And he's going, yeah, it's. I read up about it. What it is, it's a bloke, right? And he can turn into an elephant. And we're like, this is like a Batman film. You know, it's going to be like a superhero film, but like in those days. Yeah. So we're all going to the pictures, and we're thinking, you know, we see the poster, and we're thinking that don't really look like a superhero film. The guy's got like a hood over his. Maybe he's like a undercover guy, and he's, you know, maybe it's set in Victorian London or something. You know, it's black and white. Mm. So we're all in the theatre, and we're sat there with our, you know, our Pepsi and our candy floss, and it starts, and there's about, I don't know, class of children, about 25 kids, all goes quiet, and we're watching the film, right, and we're seeing this geezer, you know, this guy, and the film itself is an amazing film. Rewatch it later. You know, John Merrick was a real person, and his afflictions was awful, but how he sort of, you know, how his life turned around and how he became something more than what he was, you know, it was an amazing story. Now, the thing was, when you're a kid, you're not thinking like that. You just want to see like fighting and stuff. And we're just seeing some guy with like a big head and a limp, you know, who's just got a sack on his head. We don't understand what's going on. We don't understand any of this. So we're thinking, what are we going to, you know, what? This is boring. So yeah, I that's another Christmas memory that's stuck in my head. Of course, we all had to write essays about it, and I didn't write a very good essay. I just wrote, you know, the guy, you know, had a limp, you know. You know, I'm just, you know, I'm a kid. My brain don't work.
Yeah, yeah. I remember having that taped off the TV. That must have been on at Christmas sometime.
It is
like the 80s.
It's a great film. It's a great film.
Yeah, yeah. But I think I went into it knowing what it was. So you know.
I had no idea. We had no idea what it was. We just thought, this kid come up to us and said, "Yeah, I know what it's about. I've read about it. It's a bloke, and he's got like power, and he can turn into an elephant." You're just gonna? It's called The Elephant Man. We thought we put 2 and 2 together and come up with 9. You know, you just don't think. You know, is it all right? Let's go. You know, off you go. So it's like, you know.
It does sound like a superhero. The Elephant Man.
You got the Ant-Man. You got
like Spider-Man, Batman, the Elephant Man.
You got the Elephant Man. Yeah. I don't know.
That makes sense.
I don't know. Yeah. I just go there and I'm like, I'm watching this film and I'm thinking, what's going on here? You know, why is it in black and white? Why isn't it in colour? Obviously, I rewatched it like 10 years later, and I read the story by then about, you know, John Merrick and his, you know, his achievements and stuff. And it's an amazing story. But the fact was that back when you're a kid, you don't understand. Your ability to understand and process stuff like that is limited. And of course, the information that, you know, if it ain't in Starburst, then it ain't happening, you know? So that's where I got all my movie news from, buying magazines like Starburst.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so that was a Christmas memory. But have you got any films that like stick in your head from Christmas time?
Oh, I don't know. I'm thinking of movies that I saw when I was a kid when they came on the TV, and I assumed they were Christmas, but because like the family were all sat around watching it, like Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. I remember that being a big one.
Yeah,
when that came out, there was like the song. Who was it? Brian Adams or someone?
Brian Adams, yeah.
Is that right? That was at number one for like 10 weeks or something. But then I remember when it came on the TV finally and taping it off the TV. I don't know if it was Christmas. I assume it was. And another weird one that I have a really strong memory of us all sitting around watching was called Inner Space.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that movie where someone gets shrunk down and injected into someone else's body and they travel around? That must have been on at Christmas because I remember like the family all sat around watching it.
So with films, okay, do you notice that a lot of horror films are associated with Christmas? Have you noticed that?
Yeah. There's a good few.
So there's one film that I was just looking up. I mean, I was having a look at films that that I remember. For example, from when was it? 1987, Silent Night, Deadly Night, and there's a part 1 and a part 2, which is basically about people who are a bit mental, just wanting to kill people, and they dress up as Father Christmas, and it's kind of like this horror. You notice how like horror and supernatural it's got a connection with like Christmas, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, I don't know. It kind of makes sense because Christmas is another time like Halloween, isn't it? Where they say like the veil is thin between the physical world and the spirit world and whatever, or it's a time of like transition from one thing to the other. So it's when they say like strange things can happen or things can come through from the other side. So I can see why there is a connection there between the supernatural and Christmas time.
What I do like is I do like the plays that you get on at Christmas time.
Yeah.
A ghost tale at Christmas time. I do, and then they're usually like from M.R. James and stuff like that have been remade in modern style. I do enjoy those, and I always find that, as you say, with it, because it's a holiday time, a holiday season, like Halloween and stuff, where you have a Christmas story attached. And I think that when you look at Christmas and you look at sort of films and stuff, I always thought it was weird that Die Hard, people look at Die Hard as a Christmas movie because it's got a Christmas song in it and it's around Christmas time. But it's more of an action thriller. But I can understand as well how people can consider it a Christmas film. Do you feel the same?
I don't know. That's one of them debates, isn't it, that people have? I reckon it's sort of thing I've never really thought about too hard. I'm not like a massive fan of action films, so I have heard the debate over whether Die Hard is a Christmas film, but I don't know if I've got much opinion on it. I think it's one of them things that so many people say it is now that it has become a Christmas film.
Yeah. So it's been willed. It's been willed.
It's one of those. It's kind of like the discussion of it. The discussion about whether or not it's a Christmas film has somehow made it into a Christmas film anyway. If that makes sense. Like so many every time at Christmas, so many people have a discussion about whether or not it is a Christmas film. Then just having that discussion has made it become like a Christmas tradition in its own right.
Have you got any sort of favorite sort of Christmassy like horror films that you tend to watch every year?
Well, Gremlins, that's another one that I remember watching as a kid. Like we had it taped off the TV and being actually quite scared by it. There's a bit where the Gremlins have sort of changed. They've been fed after midnight or whatever.
Oh yeah,
and then
they go a bit nasty, don't they?
Yeah, and then there's a bit where I think he takes one in a cage into like the school or something, and it gets out, and there's I feel like it's kind of hazy in my mind, as if I've like blocked it out of my memory. But I remember it terrifying me as a kid. There's a bit where someone's in a classroom on their own, and this gremlin's got out the cage, and it's just kind of stalking them around the classroom, and they don't know it's there.
So, Gremlins, there was two. That was the one where they don't get the little one wet because he had all the hairballs come off of him.
Yeah, if you get them wet, they have babies.
Yeah,
and if you feed them after midnight, they turn into big green demonic things.
Yeah,
that are evil.
I remember seeing that film around Christmas time, and there's a few other films.
Yeah.
Another one is E.T. I don't know why that was on at Christmas, but
yeah, that was on like every year
Yeah.
at Christmas. That was like a tradition. I'm trying to think what else. There was always like a few films that were always on, and you would always see them every year.
The Spy Who Loved Me.
Yeah.
Spy Who Loved Me. You would have that would be on every year, and so I always associate The Spy Who Loved Me with Christmas. I don't know why, but for me, Roger Moore was my growing up James Bond. So when I was a kid, you know, like Tom Baker was my Doctor Who growing up.
Yeah.
And that's another thing, Doctor Who. That was another. You'd always have a Doctor Who special, wouldn't you? At Christmas time.
Yeah, I can't remember Doctor Who too much because my parents would stop me from watching it because I would have nightmares. I remember the only episodes I remember are like the couple of ones that I was allowed to watch, and then having terrible nightmares for weeks afterwards. So I was stopped from watching it. So yeah, there probably were Christmas specials of Doctor Who, but I didn't see them.
Do you remember? I'm trying to think of the name of it. There was a classic, might be a little bit before your time.
Mm.
It was a classic episode of Space 1999. I'm trying to think of the name of it off the top of my head. It was an episode where they go to there were like wrecked ships and stuff. If I remember, I'm doing this from memory, so I could be way off. But there was a sequence that there was a portal in this episode when this monster with all these tentacles came out of it, and it was the most horrific thing that I remember watching, and it was like so real. I mean, you watch it now, and it's still a bit weird even now. But
I don't know that one. No,
I was well into Space 1999.
Yeah, I mean, I remember one thing that used to really terrify me, and this actually might be kind of Christmassy. I don't know because it's kind of snowy. But the BBC adaptation of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Well, you might have been a bit older than me when this came on, so you might not have
I know the story.
Probably like a teenager. Yeah, well, you might have been like I imagine by the time that came on, you would have probably been like a teenager.
Yeah.
So you might not have been interested, but I was hooked on it. And that was another thing that used to give me nightmares, but I used to really enjoy it. If you watch it now, there's like people in costumes. There's like a wolf man in costume, and it looks so fake. It's kind of laughable. But to me, this wolf man was like the most terrifying thing. Like I used to, like, I don't know. There was like the queen who could turn people into stone, and she had this like wolf. I think his name was Morgrim, and he used to like stalk around after the kids that had gone in through the cupboard into Narnia. I was so scared of that guy.
I found the name of it. It's Dragon's Domain. Space 99 episode called Dragon's Domain, and it was like a tentacle monster with a light in the center of it thing, and it was, I mean, as a kid, it was just so scary. It was just like just creepy. It's like a slimy monster.
I'm looking at the picture of it now on my phone. Actually,
but it
does look scary.
Totally scary as a kid. And I always, those kind of episodes, I don't know why, but I always associate them with like Christmas time, like Blake 7. I remember seeing episodes of Blake 7 around Christmas time. And the weird thing was, I don't know about you, but you had that kind of Christmas, you got like, the Christmas Eve where you're losing your mind because you know that you want your presents. You got Christmas Day where you're all excited. And then you got Boxing Day where you go and see your grandparents, and for me and my brother, we'd go and see our grandparents with my parents, and you would literally just sit there for like 4 hours while all your family are having a few bevies and stuff, and your kids, and you're just eating ham sandwiches and drinking lemonade and looking at a TV which is completely turned down because it's been muted because everyone's talking. And that was the thing we did on Boxing Day, and then after that, it was like, as a kid, Christmas was done. You were over. You were on school holiday. But what are the things you did after Christmas? Was there any other thing before New Year? That little lull. Is there something that you used to do?
Yeah. Well, I think our like Boxing Day thing, from what I remember, was we'd drive down to because most of my family lives down like the Midlands way.
Yeah.
which is like a couple of hours drive. So like we'd have Christmas at home in North Wales, and then we'd drive down, and it would take a few hours to get there, down to like down to the Midlands, where my family, like Bromsgrove, that sort of area, and then we'd stay over at like my aunt and uncle's house, and we'd have a day there. It was like having 2 Christmas days, really. It was quite nice. But that was what you described there, of all sitting around with the TV down, silent.
Yeah,
that is exactly what it was like. But we were at like my aunt's house. What the main thing I remember from those days was, every single year, one of my uncles would buy buy me the Beano annual and my brother the Dandy annual. So like most of the day we were just sat there reading our annuals, and then when we'd finished, we'd like swap over and read the other one.
My brother was into the Beano, and he used to buy the Beano comic. He used to get it. He used to get the Beano comic, and I used to get Star Wars Weekly comic.
Yeah.
And at Christmas time, we would get an annual, and my brother used to get the Beano annual, and I got I used to get like the 2000 AD Judge Dredd and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, 2008. I remember getting a 2000 AD annual, and I don't know who bought it me, but like when I was at my nan's, we got presents, and most was like aftershave and sock. When I was like 12. But I remember one of my relations gave us an annual each, and it was 2000 AD, right? And your relations especially did this as well. But it was the smell. It was always that smell of that new printed paper. So that smell of the annual. But do you always remember as well? This used to get me, right. They always used to cut the bit of the page out.
Yeah, there was always like a corner missing
with the price. Yeah, they cut it out.
Yeah.
And it always cut like something out on the back, like part of the text or whatever.
Yeah, I remember that. There was like there's like a corner, isn't there, in the new annuals, which has the price on it, like on like the it's like the first or the last page.
Yeah,
and it would have like a line for cutting it out. Yeah,
and I got this annual, and obviously they didn't want to buy me a Christmas card or whatever, and I opened the page, the first, the cover, and on the first page, they'd written like, to Reeves, Happy Christmas from Auntie and Uncle, whoever it was, I can't remember. And they'd written on the first page, and I'm like thinking, why'd you do that? Why are you writing my book? So when I got home, I got that page out and got rid of it.
Yeah. I mean, I've started collecting old annual. Like if I go into a charity shop and I see an old like comic book annual, I'll buy it now. And I quite like when I find them and they've got like if some kids like doodled on the pages inside it, or if it's got like a little note on the front like Happy Christmas or whatever.
Yeah,
I quite like that now. Like back then it would have annoyed me, but now I'm like buying second-hand. I'm like, it's got a bit of character to it.
It's something about Christmas annuals, especially Christmas annuals and Christmas books and stuff. I always had I always got one of something. I mean, one year it was I got a book of the Encyclopedia of the Supernatural, and it was basically from Nessie, the Loch Ness monster, to spontaneous human combustion. It was like an annual full of stuff like that, but it was all done in like hand drawn stuff. So like the guy had drawn like an old lady in the chair in flames, sort of thing, Horrific for a kid who's 11, but I'm reading. What are you reading about? Oh, just spontaneous human combustion, Mum. Oh yeah, your dinner's ready. So but it was a really good, like an encyclopedia of all this, and it was all like hand drawn. It was really cool. But I always enjoyed getting annuals, and I sold I think I've sold them all, got rid of them all now. But the last one that I had annual was it was early 80s. It must have been the early 80s. And it was a Battlestar Galactica annual, the original series. And I sold it on eBay. I was having a tidy out, and I thought, I just put this stuff on eBay. And I put it on eBay for 99 pence, right? Thinking it would just go. I just wanted to get rid of it. I don't know why, but you get into those moods sometimes where you just want to clear stuff out. Yeah. And I put it on eBay for 99 pence, and when it went for like 28 quid, and it had like 16 bidders. And I couldn't understand at the time, why is so many... It's just an annual. But apparently it's because it was in such good condition. I'd only read it like 2 times and then put it away. But it did have it did have the little, it had the little cutout. It had been cut away, so it had the little thing. And I don't think anybody had written in that one, but it definitely had a part of the page cut away. But that annuals was a Christmas thing. And I think it might be. Is it still a thing? Is it,
It's still. I don't know how popular they are these days, but I do still see them. And a lot of the time they're just random TV shows that I've got no idea what they're about, or some internet thing. Like there'll be a Fortnite annual, or some video game that I don't play. So it's completely out of my world now.
Isn't it weird that how from in our years now, grown up as adults, how Christmas has changed and how you see it differently? Like for me personally, all I want to do at Christmas is just shut myself away and just not have anything to do with anyone, because I'm done. I'm just work and stuff. I'm like, Christmas Eve, thank you very much, goodbye. See you in a week. I'll be back. Mm-hmm. But back in the day, I'm like out every night. Oh, it's Christmas. I'm going crazy. But now, it's more. I don't know. I don't. Maybe it's because it's for children mainly. You had that kind of child's mindset. But I think when you get older, you find you just want to just chill and relax.
Yeah, because I think when you're a kid, like one of the things is you don't have to do anything when you're a kid. You just sort of amble about up until Christmas, and then you get given a load of gifts. Whereas for an adult, I mean, like I'm thinking, I've got to go out shopping in all the Christmas crowds, buy a load of presents for everyone, get them all wrapped up. And then I've got to get the house tidy for my parents visiting, and there's a lot of things you got to do as an adult at Christmas. Whereas, so by the time Christmas comes around, you're kind of like knackered, and you're like, I just want to have a rest now.
Are you
veg out in front of the TV?
Are you going to get? Are you going to get accosted and taken out on the January sales?
No. No? Nah. My wife will go out, and I'll just say, "All right, have fun." I'm not into the January sales. Maybe online. I like the Steam sale and stuff. But, I don't do the crowded shopping center thing. No, I'd rather just sit on the computer and buy things off eBay and stuff.
What's your favorite Christmas food?
I don't know. Maybe pigs in blankets.
Yes, I was waiting for that.
Yeah, it's kind of thing. I wonder why you don't have them all year round. Like, why is it always just a Christmas thing? Like, pigs in the blankets should be like, a weekly occurrence. I reckon they're so good. Well, but for some reason they only wheel them out at Christmas.
Yeah, the baby ones, the little baby ones.
Yeah, the little tiny ones. Yeah.
I got to be careful with those because I bought a pack last year of 24, and I decided that I would only do like half of them, and they would be like half for nibbles, and then the rest would be either go in the fridge, and then I'd have them later on. And I literally, so what I did, I put the oven on. I go, I'm just gonna have half of these. What? I'm just gonna have a couple more, just a few more over half. Mm-hmm. I put the whole lot in, right?
Yeah.
And I ate a lot. I ate them all.
Yeah.
I annihilated them. I had them all, and then I had my Christmas dinner. I must admit, I had a bit of a bellyache.
Well, that's you've got to at Christmas. So if you don't have a bellyache by the end of it, if you're not in like a food coma of some sort, and then you'll eat. That's what you'll do. You'll eat food all day, and then you'll have your Christmas dinner, and then you'll probably have like a cheese board or something. And then 5 minutes later, you're like, oh, fancy a mince pie.
Yeah.
And you'll probably shovel about 3 mince pies down.
I tend to sort of make a list and think, well, I'm going to have this, I'm going to have this, I'm going to buy those things. And when those things have gone, that's it. But like you said, it's like you think, oh, I'll make it last. I'll have a little bit of this, I'll have a little bit of that. You don't. You just keep eating. And for 2 days solid, you're just watching telly and eating. It's just one of them things. I'm not doing it all the time. But it is, I think it's because you buy all the things that you wouldn't normally buy because they wheel out all the, all the festive stuff, and you think, oh, I'll have that. I'll have one of them.
Yeah.
I'll have a box of that, and you get all this food, and a lot of it. I try not to throw food away, but I did last year. I must have had about, there was a fair few things that I'd only ate a portion of, and then it had to go in the bin because it was no longer suitable. But yeah, I do tend to pig out a little bit over Christmas, and I do like I do like things like I do like to make a Christmas dinner, and just a nice little Christmas dinner and stuff. I do like to do that, but it's you got to be careful because you do end up with bellyache, and it's just one of them things. I'm not a big drinker. I don't go out drinking. I gave up smoking 12 years ago now. So, and I'm not really. I do drink. I do have if somebody says, do you want a beer? I go, yeah, I'll have a beer, but I don't go out and get absolutely off my skull and end up in a ditch somewhere. I don't do that.
Yeah.
But I'm a social drinker. I suppose that's a bit like you, yeah?
Yeah. I go out and get drunk now and then. And I like a bit of a drink, but I don't drink like I used to. I probably won't at Christmas as well because, like I say, it would be family visiting, so I can't be getting mortal drunk and making a fool of myself at Christmas time.
Do you still look forward to Christmas now? Or what's it?
Yeah,
I do.
You.
What is the most? What's the part that you look forward to the most?
I just think it's just. I don't know. There's just something about the atmosphere at Christmas. It's just like a positive vibe, isn't it? It's like everyone's got together and everyone seems to be in a good mood, and you all sort of get together and have a load of food and give each other presents. It's just like I don't know, just like the positivity of it, I suppose. I know a lot of people get miserable at Christmas, don't they?
Yeah, I was going to say.
A lot of people don't like it, or they feel a bit lonely or something, even if they've got a load of family around them. But I don't know, I never feel like that. I always quite enjoy it.
I did get that a little bit when I was in my later teens. I started to hate Christmas, and when Christmas time would come, I didn't want to. I wanted to disconnect and not. I didn't want to do the thing it's a teenage thing and it's your hormones and I'm a rebel and all that stuff. You didn't want to go and hang with your family, and you didn't want to go and see your relations, and you always felt that I don't want to do this. Why have I got to do this? That sort of thing. So I did feel a little bit like that, and I think that as you get older, I can understand as a kid how I saw Christmas as a kid, and you are completely correct in what you say. The reason it's so exciting back then is because you're a kid and you've got no responsibility. You've got absolutely no. The only responsibility you've got is to get out of bed in the morning and go to school, and that's it.
Yeah,
there's nothing else. Oh, maybe take the rubbish out, or dry the dishes up. But you haven't got any real responsibility. You just go out and play with your mates. So Christmas is a time to be super excited. But when you get older, it's like you got all that weight of the work and bills and all you want to do is just really be left alone at Christmas. I don't mean it like bar humbug. I mean, I must say I'm a little bit bar humbug. I'm a little bit. I don't want to overdo it. I don't want to be fake happy. I don't want to say, it's great. Yeah, let's just wear the t-shirt. I got the jumper on. I got the hat. Let's go to the Christmas party. No, thanks. No, thank you. You go and have your party. I'm all right. So I'm not really into a works party or anything like that. I can't do stuff like that. I never did stuff like that. I never did a Christmas. You ever do like the Christmas works do?
Yeah, I used to. Now that I just work for myself as a YouTuber, it's not much fun because it's just me standing
around with a drink in it, talking to yourself.
Yeah, buying myself a drink. Yeah, but we used to do I worked in retail and I worked in bars and stuff for years, and we'd always have a bit of a drink, and sometimes we'd hire out a hall or go for a meal or something. I used
to years ago when I worked in a music plant. We used to have a Christmas meal every year, and we would all get together the Christmas Eve, and then we would go for a Christmas meal, and the company would pay, and they book it all and that, and then we just turn up, and it was a free bar, so we just drink what we want. All the meal was paid for, and that was fun. But I think it's because I worked with those people for so long. I mean, I was working there for nearly 15 years, so I knew them all really well.
Mm.
But in other jobs, when they're like, "Do you want to have a little bit of food?" No, I'm not interested. I just don't want to. The older you get, I just want to. The quicker I can get home, the better. It just chill and just get away from people.
Maybe it just depends who you're working with, I suppose. Yeah. I don't know.
It's weird.
Yeah.
But so anyway, Tom, any final thoughts on Christmas? I know we'll wrap this up now because we've been waffling for like over an hour. But have you got any more festive thoughts left in your head?
I just wanted to say about the weirdness of Christmas. Really. That's another thing that I enjoy about it. It's kind of like one of the few things we do in the modern world that's almost like a irrational ritual, if that makes sense. It's got a lot of links to the old like pagan traditions and stuff. Like I said before about the idea of bringing a tree inside and covering it in decorations. Yeah. It's just, if you stop and think about it, it's such a weird thing. It doesn't really make any sense. Like, why do we do this at the end of the year? It's almost like there's this like it's almost like this collective consciousness thing. It's something that sort of connects us to like our old pagan selves in a way. I find that's another aspect that I really like about Christmas, is that it's just this strange thing that we do every year, and it's like, if you had like an alien come and land in your back garden on Christmas, and they came into your house and they're like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And you had to try and explain to them what you were doing. Like, "Oh, why is this like, what this mistletoe above the, why does that mean you've got to kiss someone if you're underneath it? Why have you got a tree in your front room covered in decorations? Like, what are these baubles? What do they mean? Like, who's this guy, Santa? Like, what's he all about?" You're trying to explain it to someone who knows nothing about it. It would just seem so irrational and strange. And yet, pretty much the whole country takes part in this strange ritual every single year.
Yeah.
It's another thing I like about it. It's just the very strangeness of the whole thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, it all really roots from paganism anyway. And it all comes from, that in some way. And there's all a little bit of everything in that. And I think that, Father Christmas, Santa, Father Christmas, whatever you want to call him. He's got many names, a bit like Satan. But it's kind of like, it's kind of overtaken Jesus now. It's like, no baby Jesus, get back in your crib, go back into take the three kings and get Joseph and Mary and go back in there, take the donkey, get in there, close the door. We have got Father Christmas, so we don't need you. Back in the old days, back in the Victorian days, when they were still putting candles on their Christmas trees and burning their house down, because that's what they used to do.
Yeah.
It was very, very religious. You would go to church. You would go to church before Christmas. You would go to church on Christmas, and you would go to church after Christmas and sing your songs and do your praise and all that stuff. But it's all changed, and it's all about Father Christmas. Or Santa, or whatever you want to call it, the holidays. It's got many, many names, but I think it's changed so much now. And as you say, we worship a Christmas tree now. We worship a tree in our front rooms, whether it be a real one or a fake one or a mini one. We worship the tree, and the tree gives us gifts. We wake up Christmas morning, and there's gifts at the bottom. And thank you, Christmas tree. You've given me the gift.
Yeah, like for a lot of people, like there's so many people who just don't they say they don't have a religion of any sort or any kind of spiritual beliefs, but like Christmas is almost like a form of spiritualism for a lot of people.
It is.
Even if they don't think about it, it's just like they say, it's a strange ritual that we all take part in, and it's like a coming together of people. It's like a shared belief that people have, even if they don't believe in any kind of God or anything like that. It is almost like a spiritual belief in itself. The whole Christmas thing.
I do find it weird. I mean, I'm not. I don't want to come across as a party pooper. I don't want people to think that I'm being a bit negative. But why can't people be nice to each other and give each other gifts all year long? Why has it got to be just one day? Why is it just one day that you should be nice to everyone? You know, I'm your friend today, but tomorrow I'm going to hate your guts. So buy me something right now, and I'll buy you something. So I think it's very sort of commercial now. It's everything is about money and what somebody's buying someone, and you know, have you got the latest iPhone or whatever? And it is, and I think that it does tie everyone in. It's a commercial venture now, and it's all about spending money and how much money you spend. You know, the amount of people that I talk to go, oh, I'm so up with credit card, or it's full up, I can't. Well, that's not my problem. That's your problem. You put that money on there. You didn't have to, but you know, I just, you know, anything in moderation. I mean, I don't very rarely bother with a Christmas tree anymore. You know, I got a little baby one, tiny one. Sometimes I'll put it up if I can be asked. But you know, I think it completely changed. The context of Christmas has completely changed to what it used to be. And I think what it used to be, if you go back, I'm not saying go back hundreds of years, but go back even sort of 50 years, a couple of generations. Back in those days, you'd all get, I mean, I remember being a kid. And going to, I was a member of a Sunday school. And I remember at Christmas time that me and my brother, we went to, it wasn't like a Sunday school because it wasn't on a Sunday, but it was something to do with the church. And we went there and we sung the songs and all that stuff. And there was like pass the parcel, and you would win prizes and all that sort of stuff. It was an activity at church. I don't think people don't do stuff like that anymore. And I'm not saying, oh, you have to go to church, but there was a connection with a religious connection with Christmas. I don't see that anymore. Maybe, obviously, there is a minority of people that still do that and still go to the church at Christmas and stuff, and they help with charities and stuff like that. That still happens, but in general, it's just about spending money, isn't it?
Yeah, it does feel a bit like that. I mean, I don't know, because like when I was growing up, my parents were religious. We'd go to church every Sunday, and like that whole like going to church, that Christmas Day church thing, going to like the midnight mass and all that. That was all like a big part of it for me. But then growing up, you know, I'm not particularly religious myself, so like I'm just not in all of that. So I'm not sure whether it's just because when I was a kid, we were just, you know, my family were religious, so we were just more involved in it. And like now that I'm an adult, I just don't see that side of it very often. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know whether it's just a perspective sort of thing, or whether it's just as a nation we've become less religious in some way.
Yeah, I do think that in general, I think that that's kind of been pushed to a side now, and it's all about, you know, getting drunk and, you know, partying and having time off. And I do think the whole Christmas kind of thing has changed. It has changed. It's more of a holiday now, and it's more of time off. We still see family. I mean, like you just say, you still see your family, you see people that you haven't seen throughout the year and stuff like that. But I think it has changed, and whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't think that's for me to say. But I think that, you know, that it's just weird that we have that one day of a year where everyone loves everyone, and then the rest of the year everyone hates everyone. It's a bit weird. Imagine if it was Christmas every day. I mean, there are people out there that celebrate Christmas every day, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a song about that.
Yeah. I mean,
wishing it was Christmas every day.
There's a guy I read about online that he basically has a Christmas dinner every day.
Yeah, I remember that guy. He used to be on TV a lot in like the 90s.
Yeah.
I seem to remember like every Christmas there'd be a feature on this guy who has like his house is done up like it's Christmas all year round.
Yeah,
and then he has a Christmas meal every single day.
Yeah. I mean,
I can't imagine eating a Christmas meal every day.
Could you? I mean, how soon before you got absolutely? I mean, a Christmas meal. I mean, there are some tasty Christmas meals out there, especially if you've got all the bits and bobs with it. But I mean, it would get a bit boring, wouldn't it?
Yeah, like turkey every single day.
Yep. I mean, you could change it and have like chicken or whatever. But I mean, even like if you had like just a vegetarian because it would get boring. All the different versions of it, you'd have eaten them in a few months.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if is he still around? I don't know. I expect he is. But and there's another person that just wears a Christmas jumper all year, don't they? Just a Christmas jumper.
Yeah, we used to a few years back. We used to have a second Christmas at Easter because my sister-in-law was working away. She worked on cruise ships, and then she'd come back Easter time, so she'd be away over Christmas. And then when she came back, we'd have a second Christmas, and I always enjoyed that, having an extra cheeky Christmas at Easter time.
Do you know who I envy? The people that I envy are the people that at Christmas time it's their birthday on the 25th.
Oh, really? I always feel sorry for those people.
And Christmas.
It's they do. Yeah, but it's kind of you don't get. I imagine you don't get some because especially when you're a kid, your birthday is exciting because it's almost like a second Christmas.
Oh yeah,
but if you had them both if you had them both on the same day, it's I don't know. Would it not be slightly less special or something? Because everyone's excited about Christmas and then they're not sort of focusing on your birthday as much.
Yeah, but does that mean that because it's your birthday and it's Christmas, does that mean you get an extra special Christmas present? Does that qualify you? Do you mean you get?
Or I wonder if some kids might just get one set of presents because it's
true. But on average, how many presents would you get at Christmas when you was a kid? I got about 4.
Oh, I don't remember. I remember it depended. Sometimes you'd get one big present, and that'd be it. Or sometimes you get a lot of little things.
One year, I got a guitar, and I really wanted an amplifier, and I asked and asked and asked. I didn't ask directly. I dropped all these hints that I wanted an amplifier for my guitar, and I didn't want a huge amplifier, just a little practice amp. And I dropped all these hints for about 3 months leading up to Christmas. And on Christmas Day, there was a big box in the front room. And I thought, they've done it. They've got me an amplifier for my guitar. I can actually hear what I'm playing now. And I ripped all the packaging off and stuff. It's a bleeding toolbox, wasn't it? Because I liked, fiddling with engines and stuff when I was a kid, taking things apart. They bought me a toolbox, set of tools. I thought, I can't plug my guitar into that. So, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That was that sinking feeling. Have you ever got that? Always wanted a present and you think you've got it and then suddenly it's not the present?
Yeah, kind of, yeah. This is a slightly different thing, but I remember a present when I was a kid and I've tried to search for it since I was a kid, looking on eBay and stuff just to see if I could find it again. And I've got no idea what it was. So maybe someone listening will know and they'll be able to tell me. It was like a toy truck with a like an articulated lorry with the thing on the back.
Uh-huh.
And inside the truck was almost like a Formula One car. And you could take the car out of the back and extend some wings on it and turn it into a flying jet or something. And the truck itself would rise up. It would transform and it would rise up and it would have guns on the top. I remember getting this present. I think my grandmother had bought it me and I thought it was the most amazing thing ever. But as soon as I got it out of the box, it was broken. I can't remember whether I broke it or whether it was just broken as soon as I got it out of the box. There was one thing broken on it. So I played with it for about 5 minutes and then I was speaking to my parents or my grandmother. Oh, it's broken. So they immediately packed it away in the box and right, we'll take it back to the shop. We'll get you a new one. I never saw that toy ever again. It went away. They must not have been able to they must have either got a refund or not been able to get that toy ever again. Because and over the years, now and then my brother would say, remember that toy? Remember that amazing toy that we got? Because it was it was absolutely incredible. To me, it was the best toy I'd ever got. And I got to play with it for about 5 minutes and never ever saw it again. And we would honestly, me and my brother would sometimes reminisce about it. Oh, remember that toy that we had for 5 seconds.
The truck flew as the truck. It was like a plane, or what?
It was if you imagine an articulated lorry sort of thing.
Yeah.
And the front of the lorry would you could flick a switch and it would lift up almost I don't know. So the bit that the people were sitting in was high up in the air that didn't fly. It was like that would lift up and it would be almost like a control tower or something like that. But then in the back of the truck, you would open it up, and there was a yellow car in there that looked like a Formula One car. But from what I remember, you could like extend wings out the side of it and flip the wheels underneath, so it became like a flying jet almost.
Weird. I'm trying to really think. All I can think of from my childhood that things that were like that were things like Micro Machines and.
Yeah, it was big. It was bigger than Micro Machines. I for some reason I think it might have been. You know those? Do you remember Mask?
Yeah, Mask. Yeah. Yeah.
I've had a look at Mask toys and I can't find the exact one. I found like trucks and stuff.
But did they transform or not? They did something, didn't they? Some of them transformed, didn't they?
I don't remember too well. I keep wondering if it's either Mask or if it's G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe, yeah, that was another popular one.
It was like that sort of scale. It wasn't Transformers.
So it was more like the Star Wars figure size. Those kind of G.I. Joe, Mask.
Yeah.
That was sort of like that sort of toy
maybe
size.
Maybe a bit smaller than Star Wars. But yeah, like I say, I've not been able to find the exact thing. I found things that look similar.
Maybe it was really rare. Maybe what you had was really rare, and if you'd had it today, it would be worth a ton of cash.
Yeah, maybe. But I don't know what happened to it. Like, it got packed away in the box instantly, and they took it off me and said, "Right, we're gonna send this back. We'll get you a replacement." 'Cause I reckon.
What happened was, your mum took it back to the shop, and they said, "Well, sorry, madam, we haven't got any left because they were so popular. We're sold out. We need to take this one and send it back and get it repaired or get you a replacement." Your mum was like, no, just give me my money back.
Yeah, that's more likely.
That was it. That was the end of the story. Yeah. And it went in the bin.
Yeah.
So,
but I can't find any like trace of it on the internet. You know, they've got like archives of all these toys. I've never been able to find what it was.
You know what you want to look at? I know it's a long shot. What year was this?
I don't remember. I was probably about like 8 or 9, something like that. So like probably like
80s?
9. Maybe it was like
late 80s.
It would have been. I was born in 83, so it would have been either like around the end of the 80s or the beginning of the 90s.
So why don't you see if you can look it up on the old Argos catalogs.
Oh yeah,
because if it was, there's a load. I can't think of the website, but there's a load of Argos catalogs online that are in like PDF format.
Oh, is there? That sounds good.
Yeah, I think I bookmarked it. There's you can go through the years, and if it was a really popular toy, it would be bound to be in there. If it was like a proper popular toy for the Christmas, if you look at all,
I seem to remember getting it and like never having seen it before and not knowing like what it was. You know, like it wasn't something that I'd seen and thought, I really want that.
All right.
It was almost like something that came out of nowhere and like then disappeared back into nowhere again afterwards. So
well, maybe it wasn't popular and they only made like 50 of them.
Yeah, maybe.
And that's why there weren't any left, because they didn't have any. I don't know.
I don't know what it was, but it's a memory.
Or maybe it was the Mandela effect and you never actually had it. It was a false memory that happened in a different timeline. There you go.
Nah, because me and my brother would remember it over the years. Like every now and then my brother would bring it up and say.
See, my brother was mad on like Action Men. And he had all the action. He had a tank. He had a Jeep. He had like loads of Action Men stuff. And I was like, I think the thing for me was electronic toys. That was what I was into. And also CB radio, stuff like that. And also Star Wars. But I wasn't really into Star Wars figures. My brother used to start collecting them. And at Christmas time, we would always sort of, sometimes, not always, but sometimes I would say to my brother, do you want to go for this toy? And let's, we share it. It'd be like a timeshare. But we always end up fighting over it. If we got it and my parents would go, "You can share this."
Yeah.
I mean, we got a snooker table, one of these. It wasn't like a full size one. It was like a the size of a dining room table, and it was for me and my brother. I remember, right? You got to remember that I was near my teenage years, and my brother was still like a preteen, right? And I remember being at home, and he'd come in with his mate, and he's going, "Can we play snooker?" And Mum's like, "Yeah, you can set it all up." And I was in the front room, like playing, I don't know, Atari or whatever. And I heard him and my brother and his mates in the dining room setting the snooker table up. I come out and go, "What are you doing then?" And he's going, me and Jack are going to play snooker." "No, you're not. It's mine as well. Well, you can only play it if I play the winner." And of course, why have I got to be involved? I'm just being a bully. But the older brother's doing it. But yeah, I remember that. So they stopped buying us toys to share because we always fought over them. But
it was the same with me and my brother. They would always, like, if my brother got something, I would have to get something. Like 1 year, I don't know whether one of us had asked for a remote control car, so my brother got one, and then I had to have one as well. So like they would just end up buying this, like, not exactly the same toy most of the time. It was like, like say he got one sort of remote control car, I'd get a different sort, and then we'd be able to like play together. Like we wouldn't fight over one.
That was the thing.
I seem to remember, right? This is a weird memory, and like it could be just like a false memory. But I remember we'd have like a box, because we didn't get tons of toys. We weren't like rich or anything, but we'd have a box in the back room of the house, which was always like the room that was kind of spooky, and I always felt a bit weird in there. We'd have a box in there full of all our figures, and like every day we'd like tip out all the figures and go through them and like play with different ones. And then sometimes there'd be like a toy that like my brother had got for a birthday or Christmas that I didn't have, and that'd be his. But I swear sometimes I'd look through the box and there'd be like a duplicate of that toy that hadn't been there before. And I, for some reason, had it in my head that there was like an elf or a gnome or something that was like making a duplicate so that me and my brother would both have one. But like, I was like, we'd go through this box of toys every day, and I knew every single toy in there, like off by heart, because they were like precious things. You'd look through and you'd be like looking at them and playing with them. You'd know every single little figure and toy that you had. And I swear it was just weird. Like multiple times I'd be looking through and there'd be two of a toy that I knew we only had one of before.
What was the most popular toys that were around when you were that age?
Well, I don't know how popular they were with the other kids, but for me, it was all Ghostbusters. And actually, it was with other kids, because I remember a lot of other children had the similar thing. Like some kids were more into like He-Man and Thundercats, which I had a few of, but for me, it was all Ghostbusters. And I would have like all the weird like figures, not all of them, because some of them were kind of expensive, but I remember having like the car and the Slimer and the building which you could pour the slime through the top of, stuff like that.
If I go back to think of what my brother used to collect, it was all kind of like Weebles and Play People. That was the era, like the 70s, the late 70s. That was the kind of thing that every kid wanted, and that's all he wanted. And I think they still make Play People now, but they're called Playmobil. Playmobil,
yeah, I remember them. Yeah,
I think they're still around, but that was they were massive. They were like, they were popular. It was as popular as the Beatles. It's like that. Every kid wanted those, and I never had any. But I was a little bit older then, so you lose that kind of I don't know what it is, but when you're younger, you got such a good imagination that you can take your toys and you can make up scenarios in your head, and it's all real. But when you get a bit older, you kind of you lose that ability to do that, don't you?
Yeah, and just like that I've noticed that just in, not even with your toys, just everyday life, like walking down the street. I remember when I was a kid, like you'd be in your own little world and you'd be seeing like, every little wall or stone or something could be like a creature, or, you'd be in like a war zone 1 minute shooting snipers down, or the next minute you'd be like in some fantasy world with a sword, and like every like little area. I remember like walking to school or down to a friend's house, and I feel like you just notice everything around you so much more. Like you'd be like so engrossed in the world and imagining all these weird scenarios. Like nowadays, as an adult, I feel like I just walk around like hardly paying attention to anything around me.
Yeah, it's true.
It's like when you're a kid, your mind is like just on all the time and just alive with all these like strange images and things. I don't know.
Well, when we use younger, we used to walk. I used to walk to school when I got a bit older. We'd catch the bus sort of part of the way, and then walk the rest of the way. And there was a field and like common ground. When it was dry, you could cut through it. When it was wet, you didn't bother because you just get covered in mud. But when it was like nice weather, we'd go through this. It was wasn't like the woods, but it was partly wooded, And when we used to go in there, we were still at the age. I think we were about 13, something like that, 12, 13. But we still had a little bit of that kind of child kiddiness about us, because it got to the point where we went in these woods, and it was like we made up this. We didn't make it up, but we had this. Over time, we made up this kind of in our heads. It was like this wood was like there was witches that lived in there, and it was like devil worshippers that would go into the woods. Because we walked through one day, and there's this open area, and there's like these woods. There's bits of wood on the ground, right? And if you think back now, with an adult brain, it was obviously some kids were trying to start a fire or whatever, and they were trying to like start a campfire. But we were like, look, somebody's trying to sacrifice something. They're trying to burn a cat or something. And then, of course, from that point on, it was like, we were in the woods earlier. We took a shortcut, and then we walked by where the devil worshippers were. And we're like, what? Devil worshippers? Where? In the woods? It was just it was supposed to be some drunk kids trying to make a campfire to make some sausages or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's how your brain worked,
Yeah.
Creepy.
Your brain's just on all the time when you're a kid. I'm sure that's why like they say kids see like more like supernatural stuff. It's just because your brain's like wired differently. It just notices so much more of your surroundings, and your imagination's so much more alive back then.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I as a kid, I was always, I was always sort of doing stuff. I always had something to do. I always wanted to be doing something. I think that, you come home from school. I think I said this on our last episode or another episode, but when you come home from school at like 3:30, from that time at 3:30 till 8 o'clock or whatever it was when you had to be in, you would literally get home, get changed, have your dinner, or your tea or whatever, and then you would go out with your mates from like 6 till 8. But that 2 hours, you would do so much, and that 2 hours would really feel like a whole afternoon, because you would just be doing so much. Now, when I come home, I get home at 6 or 6:30. I have a shower and eat my dinner, and watch a bit of TV, and wake up on the sofa at midnight and go to bed and go to work next day, and it all seems to go so quickly.
Yeah,
so it's that kind of time seems to be speeded up.
Yeah, that's it. Your brain, you kind of lose, like, as you get older, you kind of lose connections in your brain. So I think that's part of it. Like the learning process, you kind of think of it as if it's like making connections in the brain, but it's not really. Like when you're young, your brain's all like connected up all over the place. And then as you learn, these different connections in your brain sort of sever, and it kind of becomes more like, your thoughts become more sort of entrenched. So like you lose some of your brain function, but in its place you get a kind of I don't know what the word is. You become much better at like functioning like as an adult, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
your brain becomes like an adult brain. Like you actually lose a lot of connections in your brain as you grow up. So I think when you're a kid, all this stuff seems so much more like.
Well, you don't have any. When you're a kid, you just don't have any thoughts of anything outside of what you're doing.
Yeah,
you don't care about the outside world or,
Yeah.
politics or anything like that. Well, the only thing I did worry about when I was a kid was when we had when I grew up, it was the protect and survive or whatever it was, the get under your desk and the Third
you
World
had all
War,
that, yeah.
the alarms
The
would go
nukes.
off and the nukes would go off and all that stuff, and we had to
Yeah.
watch the film in school and stuff, and we had all that, and so I would there's a little bit of worry there, but once you got with your mates, you just didn't think about stuff like that. You just wanted to go off and be kid. And but apart from that, I didn't think about anything outside of hanging around with your mates and exploring and doing what kids do. And like Christmas time, it's it's all that's all that mattered when he was a kid. Just Christmas. That was all it. Don't care about anything else. Just Christmas.
Yeah.
Give me things. Give me presents. Yeah. I deserve them. So yeah, that was all that mattered. And I mean, like now, I do still I enjoy Christmas because I enjoy the downtime. I enjoy the just chilling and just having a little bit of food and just maybe have a glass of beer or whatever, watch a film and just chill and just chill out and just lay back and just take it easy for a week. And if you want to go out and do all the madness, go and do it. Be my guest, but I'm quite happy just to sit back and chill. I think that's just getting old, though, isn't it? You get older.
Yeah. I don't know. When you're younger, like like a young adult, you kind of feel like you have to go out and do those things. I think
peer pressure, isn't it?
Like,
yeah.
It's just like it's kind of like you just feel like, I should be doing something. It's Christmas. And then like when you get older, you think, I should be doing nothing. It's Christmas. You know what I mean? You're so tired of doing things all year round, like working and stuff. You're just like, no, it's time to rest now.
Yeah,
your priorities change.
No, I agree. Yeah, I when I was a teenager, well, 19, 20, 21, it was all about hanging around with your mates, going out, house parties or whatever, and just doing stuff. I didn't really have I wasn't really completely wild or anything like that. But I like to do stuff. I like to be out with my mate. But like now, I'm quite happy. I got no problem being on my own or just doing my own thing or doing stuff on the computer. I got no problems with that. I'm quite happy doing that as well now. So it's just I think it's just a question of you get old, you get a bit older. You just as you say, you work all year. You want to chill a bit. But anyway, so I think we've come to the end of this episode, Tom. I think we've had a really good Christmas chat. So I wish you a happy Christmas. Obviously, have a nice Christmas holiday. I hope it doesn't get too much with the relatives. I'm not that much affected anymore, but I'll be a bit quieter than you. But so what have you got before we end this episode? What have you got planned? Are you going to be doing any Christmas gaming over Christmas? Any Christmas
Christmas gaming? No, I don't think so. I don't know. I'm trying to think what Christmas games there are out there, but I can't really think of any. I'm sure there must be some, but no, I can't think of any. I'll just be playing like random games. Like on my Twitch, people just request what game they want me to play, and then it's usually something horrible. I'm crap at it, and they just watch me play some game.
Well, there's plenty of those indie games out there, and some of them are really good. I must admit, I've played a few, and some of them I've really enjoyed. Some of them I don't understand. I'm like, well, why did somebody put this on sale? It's not finished. But some of them. I mean, what's big at the moment is the whole sort of slasher 80s look, that kind of playing it through a VHS tape, that kind of look. That's big at the moment. PS1, the PS1 look. Well, I suppose you want to call it.
Yeah. There's a lot of that sort of thing. And from my main channel, I don't know. It'll probably be up by the time that this goes goes up. Like the video might already exist, but I'm researching the Doddleston messages. Is it?
Oh, the oldie messages on the computer.
On the BBC Micro,
Micro, yeah.
So that sort of begins around Christmas time.
Yeah.
Like the first messages appear in like late December. So I don't know whether it counts as a Christmassy themed video, but because today, as you know, we were going to record this earlier, and my internet went down completely. So what I did, instead of researching on my computer, I just picked up books off my shelf and started reading it. So I started reading the Vertical Plane.
So it's an interesting book. Yeah, it's an interesting book.
Yeah, I've never read it before, but I thought it might make a good video.
A classic, a classic case, and one that was very well covered on the TV show Strange But True years ago.
Yeah, and I think the book I've got is like a 2021 updated version, and I think it's got a bit at the end where he disputes a lot of the stuff that was said on the TV. I think they might have like changed some of the facts on the TV coverage back in the day.
I don't want to. I don't want to. Right, so it was covered. They did like a reenactment, on Strange But True, and they after it went like it was on a TV show. The guy that it's based around, he came into some criticism, and some people were saying, "Oh, you've clearly made this up because a BBC Micro couldn't do this. It's not connected to they can't be connected to a network, and you must have faked them and uploaded them and stuff like that." And the guy was like, "No, I haven't. I haven't done anything." And there was a lot of hoo-ha, a lot of to and froing, and he did get angry with a few people because he believed that people were trying to make him out to be like a hoaxer or a faker, and he kind of disputed that. But overall, I'm not going to give anything away because obviously anyone listening to this, go watch Tom's episode because it's a really fascinating story.
Yeah,
but there is a story.
It might not get done, It might not. I might be saying all this, and then I'll start working out. Like, no,
it's too much. It's too much.
But it
is a great story. But it could be made into a play. Like it could be like a Christmas play. That's how good it is, and but it's also got a little bit of sci-fi in it, and it's got a little bit of the supernatural in it, and it's great. And the thing is, I think the bit he disputes is the end part, where the woman has a vision, and I'm not going to say any more than that because there are different stories out there, different accounts of how things go and how things progress. But I don't want to go, oh, this happened and that happened, because that's not if you're going to do an episode. But I haven't. I think Gareth and I covered that a long time ago. One of the earlier episodes of Paratalk, we covered, I think, that story, and it is a fascinating story. Whether it's how much truth there is to it, or how much there is embellishment, I don't know, but it's possible. Who knows? But it is. It's one of those that is up there with when you say, "Have you heard about this? Have you heard about Jeff the talking mongoose or whatever?" It's up there with that. So it's a fascinating story. But so anyway, thanks again, Tom, for joining me in this little Christmas chat. It's been fun, and I hope all the listeners out there, whether you're my listeners or Tom's listeners, hope you all have a nice Christmas day, or whoever you're with, your relatives or whoever. Don't eat too much, not like me or Tom, because I'm sure I'm going to eat too much. And thanks again for listening. And if you like the episode, give me a subscribe or a share, or let other people know if you think they like it. But until 2024, have a nice Christmas holiday, and we'll talk to you soon.